Well, welcome to our second annual Port Charles Chat Recap. I'm Mom.
And I'm Brandon.
Thank you so much for joining with us today.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us and Happy New Year.
Yep, Happy New Year to all of you too. This is a special episode for us because we are going to recap the best and the worst of 2025 on General Hospital. All right, just so you know, for day of taping, today is January the 3rd, and we're going to talk about things that occurred in 2025. Are you ready, Brandon?
Mom, I am ready. How about yourself?
I am Brandon. Just so everyone know, we used the same categories last year, and we're going to go over them one by one and and give our thoughts on who won which category. Alrighty. First of all, our first category is Best Performer of the Year. All right, Brandon, I'll be honest, I couldn't narrow this down. I have three people. However, you might be surprised at who I say because this year I judged this on what the characters made me feel, meaning that if the characters acted well enough to make me feel a certain way about them. And so actually I give the first award to Willow because she makes me not like her and she's kind of got some issues going on. And so Willow's the first one. Drew is actually the second one too because he has created a character who we just have feelings about. So that would be my second one for me. My third one is Tracy because Tracy's just an all around good actress, and I like the way she portrayed herself this year. All right, Brandon, what about you?
Well, Mom, I think that those are some great ones, and definitely for the first two, more on the villainous side of things. But I mean, I think that that is so true that they really sort of bring out their spirit and energy into this past year. But, Mom, I went on the different side of things, and I did two, I would say, sort of more not necessarily heroic people, but two people I don't know if you will expect.
All right, who do you have, Brandon?
I have Gio and Emma.
Oh, wow. That's great. And you're right, very unexpected. So that's great. You gave them credit. So that's wonderful. All right. And next we have best storylines of the year. All right. So apparently I had three. So maybe that's the way I'm going in sets of threes. All right. So here are the storylines that stood out. Just so you guys know that if you can see here, I had to make a list of all the storylines that took place on General Hospital. And so these are the ones that stood out for me for best storylines. The first one is Drew, of course, being shot. We've got it. They've created a mystery. I thought they did a good job of creating the mystery. Hopefully, they can solve it. But at this point in time, creating the mystery, I think they did. They've done a nice job with that. The second storyline for me is Monica in regards to Ronnie. I thought introducing the character of Ronnie, they did a nice job doing that. I liked that it was a self contained storyline and that it had an ending. So Ronnie and Tracy together, they provided one of the better storylines for me also. And then the third storyline that stands out above all for me is really Geo. And that's with Geo and his parentage, because even though it was a retcon storyline, I thought they thought this one through. And so I think they did a nice job, and Geo, as an actor, did a really good job of coming through with this one. And so those are my three storylines that kind of stand out for me as the three for the year. All right, Brandon, what about you?
Well, Mom, I also have three.
Okay, what did you do?
Well, first things first, I agree with you on the whole Monica storyline in relation to Ronnie. And I feel that the Drew storyline, in terms of Drew shooting, actually fits within that in the sense that even though not in the present day, at some point in time or another, Monica did see Drew as a sort of son in absence of Jason. And so I feel that since his shooting was directly before the passing of the Monica character, I think that sort of all wrapped in, and then with Monica, I mean, with Ronnie coming in as well. So that's one of the storylines. But Mom, I have two others.
Oh, what are the other two?
One of them is Rick's kidnapping.
Oh, yes. I had that down and then I crossed it out. But yes.
But yes, I definitely think that, and I'm going to expand that and actually include the whole Ava money situation, because that was all a part of the same storyline. I thought it was just humorous and had some interesting pairings that I think really actually helped set the course of 2025 and continued on from last year with Christina's Fall, which was what we both said for last year.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great, Brandon.
Mom, I still have one more.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
The entirety of the nurses' ball.
Oh, I like that. And why did you say that, Brandon?
So we had so much suspense. We had the whole thing with Tracy being arrested because of Drew at the very beginning of it. We had it with Gio's revelation from Lulu about whose parentages happened within that. So agreeing with you on that front. And then we also had it with the return of Michael taking Wiley back. And so truly all of that happened within that same nurses' ball. And so it was truly such an eventful time. Not to mention it brought the rise and prominence of Sidwell's return.
All right. Those are really three great storylines to pick, Brandon. Wow. All right. Our next category is surprising storyline. You're going to be surprised about this one, and I only have one for this one. For the surprising storyline for me was actually Joss killing Cyrus. That's something I was not expecting. Um, However, it led to Joss going into the WSB. Which is an interesting twist, I think, for Joss all in itself. So that for me was a storyline I wasn't expecting. I mean, the fact that Cyrus was a serial killer, that didn't surprise me. It really was the fact that Joss is the one who ended up killing him, or at least shooting him, as far as we know. All right, Brandon, what about you?
Well, Mom, I originally had one, and then I added another while you were speaking.
Okay, what are your?
So the first one is with Sasha returning back to Robert Scorpio.
Yes, that was a surprise. We talked about that. That was truly a surprise.
Yes, and the second one I have actually is the reason for that, and that is Willow stalking Daisy.
Yes, that was. I figured that one out later, but that I was surprised that they did go that way. So yes, that is a surprising storyline.
Yes, and I'm specifically referencing where Nina and Lisa sort of figured out, and Will gives that smirk. And so I think that itself, I think, is all you have to say about that scene.
Yes. All right, and now we have best younger actor category, and for me, I chose Gio, Rocco, and Danny. Those three for me actually stand out as the younger actors. They have done a wonderful job. Gio, especially this year, has done a really, really good job. I think that his acting has improved so much. And for a character who initially was there and we all wondered, why are you there? Besides Pierce being an extra, young adults there to kind of provide some storyline. I think, once they gave him the true storyline, he ran with it, and then the way he plays the violin also, that kind of it started to all make sense in how they were kind of connecting together. Rocco, of course, has been given the storyline of being kind of the bad boy right now, and he's the character you're not expecting to be the bad boy, but he is, because you kind of expect Danny to be the bad boy, and Danny actually at this point is not been as bad as Rocco has been. And so that is, but they have all three have done a wonderful job. All right, Brandon, what about you for younger actor slash actress?
Yes. So first things first, in regards to Geo, since I had him as my one of my best performers, I went a little bit younger for the young actor category, and so I did Danny and Rocco for the same
Okay.
reasons you said.
All right, sounds good. So we're on the same accord there. And then we have Lost Storyline. These are the storylines that started and then they just kind of shriveled up. And so for me, that is actually Isaiah and Jordan, because I thought they had a nice storyline together. They had wonderful chemistry. And then the writers decided not to follow through. All right, Brandon, what about you for Lost Storyline?
Yes. So for this one, I am going to say anything and everything when it comes to Lucky.
Oh, poor Lucky. Yes, that is very true. Very, very true. They had so much potential there and they didn't take it through. All right. And then the next one for me is worst couple. And I have two couples here, but I think I'm going to switch it to just one. For me right now, the worst couple is Isaiah and Portia. They, I don't get it. But anyway, Isaiah and Portia for me are the worst storylines, worst couple right now. All right, Brandon, what about you?
Mom, I have to agree with that for Isaiah and Portia. We loved Isaiah and Jordan, but Isaiah and Portia, unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. It kind of give me the ick factor.
Out of
All right,
curiosity, who'd you eliminate?
Trina and Kai. Because, and then I had to think about it. As a couple, they don't bother me. I think it's just separately. They just, I think the writing is not there for where it needs to be for them.
Makes
But for
sense.
Isaiah and Portia, it is just, you get the ick factor. I don't quite get the ick factor with Trina and Kai, but for Isaiah and Portia, I do, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Alrighty. And then we have the best couple. And for me, the best couple at this point in time is Gio and Emma. I think they have a very nice innocence, and I really like what they're doing with them as a couple. Um, if we were into 2026, I would add Cody and add Molly on there, but they are this year, not last year. So I've got to say Gio and Emma at this point. All right, Brandon.
Mom, I'm gonna have to agree with you for Gio and Emma. I really struggled with this. I know I had three couples last year, but there really weren't a lot of per se like pairings that I could really think of for this year. But Gio and Emma definitely take the cake.
All right. And then I have worst storyline. And this might surprise you also. I actually picked the storyline that wasn't, and that's the Avery custody battle. We had so much talk about this Avery custody battle. It didn't happen. And I'm happy it didn't happen, but at the same time, there was so much talk that it just was a storyline that fizzled out. So I'm saying that was the worst storyline because it's Avery at this point in time has disappeared anyway. All righty, Brandon, what about you?
As I say, they finally solved it. They just decided no one should have Avery.
Yeah, I know, because she sure is not there. And and Ava has not said a word about her.
No, but my worst storyline is Professor Dalton.
Oh yeah, that. Yes, that is the best storyline too. Although it did spawn different storylines for Emma, Geo, Rocco, and Danny. I will give them that. But yes, I agree that just the storyline itself that didn't go anywhere. I agree.
Yeah, I'll
All right,
say
go ahead.
no. I would just say I think one of the reasons as to why I have it as the worst one is more so because we since spent months just saying that we need to take down this Professor Dalton, and we couldn't even fully be consistent as to what exactly it is that he was doing bad. I mean, first it was animal testing, then he said that he had some weird attractions. They also said that he was doing cold fusion. And like we couldn't even be consistent as to what he was being bad about, let alone breaking into his lab. And then when we finally got into his lab, we didn't even see it. His real one.
Yeah, yeah. Very, very true. All right. And then we have, let's see, actors creating heartwarming scenes. And for this one, I chose Geo and believe it or not, Tracy, because Tracy is a very versatile actress. Well, the lady who plays Tracy, anyway, a very versatile actress. And so I think that Tracy does a nice job. She could be yelling at someone one minute and hugging them the next. And so she loves her family, and that's not a secret. But she also has issues with her family. Tracy's just an all around good actress per se. So I like the character of Tracy, and then Geo, when they let him do it, he does a nice job of having a heartwarming scene. All right, Brandon, what about you?
Yes, the great Tracy, the defender of everything Quartermain except for Drew. But yes, I also chose Geo and Tracy.
Yes. All right, and then we have comedic relief. All right, for me, Tracy by herself, like I said, very versatile, is comedic relief. But then I went ahead and picked a storyline that gave me complete comedic relief, and that is the Rick storyline with Alexis, Christina, and Ava. those two, that storyline itself made me laugh. You know, I really liked the way they developed that storyline, but at the same time, it wasn't just silly. They brought closure to one of the other storylines that I think they probably messed up on and realized that, and they had to figure out how to fix it. And so, with the money, and so I like the way they kind of solved the whole storyline at the same time. But now Rick is also friendly now with all three of them, and Sunny is odd. So anyway, so I like the way that went. All right, Brandon, what about you for comedic relief?
So okay, so I chose for me, similar to what we did last year. I chose two characters that I thought had just such great comedic timing, and I think one of them might surprise you.
Okay, what is that?
Okay, so I'll save the surprising one for second, but for the first one, I'm going to say Brit.
Okay. Yep, she is comedic relief. Very true.
Yes, I think she has so many great one-liners and is able to make like a human situation out of anything, including like a bomb strapped to her ankle, and how I think if I had to pair it with anyone, it would of course be Jason for the comedic relief in the sense that usually she makes a big deal and say, "I will trust you, Jason, with my life," you know, and then he immediately leaves her for Carly, and so over and over, and so I don't think that can get old. But are you ready for my second one, Mom?
Yep, who's your second one?
It is Mr. Jen Sidwell.
Yeah. Yes, he is comedic relief. The way he imitates Jason is just funny. So, but yes, he is a very versatile actor, and so I like the way he's presented also. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. And then we have underutilized characters with potential. And so for me, overall, I think it's Carly. Carly, I think, has incredible potential. She is a wonderful actress. They didn't give her a storyline this year, or at least not a real one. She's with Brennan, I know. And yes, she barely is with Jason any longer. And so they just haven't given her the storyline. She's done some more things with Jocelyn, but the big storyline is not there. And then I said Emma because I think Emma does a great job, and I think that she could do. She's very capable of doing much more. And then Felicia also. I said Felicia last year too, but Felicia I think can do a really great job too. And at this point, I almost want to add Anna in there. I like Anna as a character. I think she does a great job, but they, once she and Jason stop their caper, they just let Anna have bits and pieces now. So I'd like to see them give Anna a huge storyline. Or they're starting to. However, right now she's kind of missing in action. All right, Brandon, what about you for underutilized characters with potential?
Okay, so Mom, I originally had three and I changed it to four.
Okay, what do you have?
First of all, Lucky.
Oh, true, true, true.
I mean, we definitely saw that he had the potential and he had a lot of great scenes with Elizabeth, but up until like what the 2.5 weeks before he disappeared, he didn't really have a scene with anyone outside of the circle. And then he became Christina's accomplice, sort of. That was just weird, and then just left. So he's definitely underutilized. Second one, I'm going to say Trina
Okay,
because we
I think
definitely
she.
see,
I agree with you. She does have a lot of potential. They just haven't given her the best storyline yet.
yeah, like we're not really treating her right now as Trina. We're treating her as sort of Portia's
Kai,
daughter.
or
Um,
or Katrina.
yeah, but I would love to see a Trina focused storyline. But Mom, are you ready for number three?
I am.
Kevin.
I have in my mind. I have a storyline for Kevin, but yes, Kevin, I believe too. Yes, he is underutilized, and we see after watching Beyond the Gates what he is capable of doing as an actor.
Absolutely. And so I do hope that for the scenes that they're bringing him in for 2026, since we are seeing him a little bit now, I don't know for how long. I do hope that they make the most of it. And it seems like they're starting to those last few weeks of 2025.
Yes, yeah. And who's your last one?
I'm going to agree with you and say Felicia.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. All right, and then we have best recast, And for me, that would be Michael. There is no question about it. I think he might be the only recast, but he is to me. They did a wonderful job. They changed the direction of the character, but Michael fits. This Michael fits right in with everyone. All right, Brandon. What about for you for best recast?
So, Mom, I'm going to agree with you and say Michael, for the same reason you're saying. And I sort of like the side that they're taking with this Michael in the sense that, um, whereas the previous one, I mean, undeniably Sonny's son, this one is the Quartermain.
Yeah, very true. True, true, true.
And I
All
will
right.
say, Mom,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I will say that he's not the only recast of this year.
Oh, remind me who? Oh, Brennan.
Yes, Brennan and Charlotte were recast.
Oh, yep, that's right. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for reminding me. All right. Now we have characters that disappeared. Um, these are the ones who I miss. And that's Kevin, and I know that he has returned. And Brad, I know that he is returned. I'm not sure for how long, but I miss them both, and I'm so happy that they're back. But they were characters that disappeared for a very long time. All right, Brandon, what about you?
So the two I have are Anna and Rick.
Okay. Yep. And then we have Best Return. And so I picked Britt and Brad for both of them. I miss them both. Um, I don't want to forget Kevin either because I do. I am glad that Kevin's back. All right, Brandon, how about you?
So, Mom, I went in a similar direction, but I chose Nathan.
Oh, Nathan is doing a nice job now, whoever he is. But he is doing a nice job.
Yeah, well, I would say one of the reasons I chose him is because whereas like for the Brit storyline, we saw Brit repeatedly, but we didn't really interact with her until a couple months in. Once she made it to Port Charles, she was integrated pretty well. I guess they realized that whereas to fix the situation like from Lucky last year, where you only had him interact with two people, Brit was brought back in. But for Nathan, I mean, one day he showed up from the dead, and next he's on the police force.
Yes, no training or anything. He is back. All right. And then for me, Rising Stars. And I chose Geo and Emma for me are two of the Rising Stars. All right. How about you?
Well, Mom, like I said before, was that I definitely think that they are stars at this point. So I'm going to choose Rocco and Danny.
Okay. That sounds good. Sounds good. All right. And then storylines to explore for the future. And so I just chose a couple of them. And so for me, of course, the Who Shot Drew. I'd like to see it kind of finish, and I hope I am surprised. And then the other one is actually Sidwell and his agenda. We know that Sidwell has won the peers, but we don't know what his real agenda is besides cold fusion. And he apparently has a boss that we don't know who that is. And so those are things I kind of like to see explored in 2026. How about you, Bran?
Okay, Mom. So I know these ones, and I didn't write anything down, but I'm going to go ahead and say my thoughts. So I think one of the major ones I want to see explored is I want to see what Rick's up to in the sense that he's just ever since he's been let go from his kidnapping or his digital detox, um, that we haven't seen what he's up to. So I'd love to sort of to actually see like the scope of his character, especially with making amends with Sunny and with Christina and Ava, and even Alexis. So I'd like to see his character fleshed out a little bit more in the present day. Like, what does a 2026 Rick look like?
Mhm.
We saw bits and pieces from him, but it doesn't seem he's on contract anymore. Um, and one of the other things I want to explore is I want to explore, hopefully, the relationship of Brooklyn and Lois whenever Lois comes back.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you picked up really well on Rick. So he might have a little agenda out there that we're not realizing, especially in regards to Sunny. All right. And then characters who we will miss. And so I picked two, and I'm sorry on a sad note, but I will miss Scorpio and I will miss Monica on the show. I know Monica hadn't been on in a while, but I will miss her presence. So for both of them, the two characters who I will miss. All right, Brandon, what about you?
Well, in terms of was it those for the real life situations, and their passing. So of course, I chose the both of them, and then storyline wise, for characters, I said Ronnie.
Okay. And I will miss Ronnie also. She was very delightful. All right. And then characters we were sorry to see go. And so for me, this is Lucky. I was sorry to see Lucky go so quickly. It's like they didn't explore his character, like you said before. And I would have loved to see if they'd actually, I mean, they had room for Nathan to be on the police force. They could have had Lucky be on the police force. So I would have loved for them to kind of have Lucky do a little something else besides be with Elizabeth. All right, Brandon, what about you for characters you were sorry to see go?
Well, I'm going to agree with you and say Lucky. And something I think that was underutilized too is even his friendship with Isaiah. I just really liked the bond that they had, and so which sort of just throws Isaiah out there as a character because he doesn't. He just have his a love interest, and that's about it. But yeah, I do wish that Lucky could have stuck around. And who knows, maybe he'll pop up again somewhere.
Yes, yes. And then I added two categories, Brandon. The first category that I added was favorite scene. And so I have two. Of course, I only wrote down one. So now I got to remember what the second one is. But anyway, so the first one that I said for favorite scene, and this is a scene that just stands out among the rest, and that is at the end of the custody battle between Michael and Willow. Willow's reaction. That was a reaction I was not expecting. And the way she kind of turned as a character, you could see it happen at that time period. And so that was probably one of my favorite scenes because as an actress, I thought she did a great job because I really didn't take Willow so seriously until she did that one little scene that made me know that, oh, she can act. And so that for me is like one of my favorite scenes for this year. I'm sure I'll think of the other scene in a minute. All right, Brandon, I'm gonna let you speak for your favorite scenes.
Well, Mom, since I didn't really know about the category beforehand, yeah, I'm actually going to agree with you in the sense that because I was thinking it'd have to be with one of the many court cases that Will was involved in, and sort of narrowing down which one. But I do think that that is the one I would go with as well because I mean we essentially saw her whole life, just sort of thrown out there in the court, and that she had always been so confident that she was going to be the winner. She had the upper hand, and that Drew was going to make sure this all happened. And sort of to see that she lost, like she was just in such disbelief. But Mom, I'm going to add another thing to this.
Okay.
The scene I'm going to add is Geo smashing his violin.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I thought about that too. We talked about Geo previously, so I didn't say that one, but yes, that was an incredible scene. It really was. I did remember the other scene, and I'm sorry, I'm writing it down so I'll know it, so I'll have it for next year. But the other scene that to me that stood out, and maybe I shouldn't say, when I say favorite, I mean as an actor watching them, realizing that they are kind of acting really well, would be Laura when she sees Dalton in the back of the car. It's been a long time since Laura has had a storyline like that, and so her scream made you know that she could act. And so that and how scared she was, and when she called Sonny and everything like that. So those are my two of my favorite scenes for this year. All right, Brandon, did you have any others, or was it those two?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna stick with my two, but I will give an honorable mention to like what you were just saying with Flora, and I think a scene just sort of worth mentioning that sort of also shows that for Laura is right after that when she has the dreams of like Cyrus coming back and Esme, that you can sort of see sort of her versatility in that and how like genuinely like terrified she is that these people, not necessarily that they're back, but more so that uh, she was has been telling them these things, for the past few years, and now it's back to haunt her. And so I just think that that whole storyline gives for some really good scenes.
All right. And my last category, Brandon, and I'm sorry, this is a new one, is best character transformation. And so I have two people here. The first one is Rick. We've talked about Rick, but I remember Rick when he was on previously, and I told you I didn't like him when he was on previously, and to see how they've kind of changed his character, or at least to have his character grow, I have liked what they've done with Rick. The other character who's had a transformation is Jason, and that in the sense that Jason was, of course, all for Sunny, and he still is all for Sunny. However, Jason actually has his own mind now, and so he does what he needs to do, and he's all about family. And so his relationship with the Quartermains is something that they've grown over the course of the year. And I like that they've done that. I like that he goes into that he defends his son on a regular basis and he's acting like a parent. And then I get a kick out of him, then he goes and talks to Drew, and just watching that is just funny in itself. But I have liked the character transformation of Jason. All right, Brandon, what about you?
Okay, so again, new category, but the first one I'm going to do, I love what you had to say, but I'm going to sort of take a cue from like what you were saying, and I'm going to say Willow.
Okay, she has had a it's the opposite way, but yeah, she's had a character transformation.
Yes, and I think what's sort of fascinating about this is even the transformation from the time that she's been with Drew, whereas
Hmm.
before she was just sort of defenseless and seeing Drew as her hero, but now she doesn't per se like or love Drew. I should say. I'm not going to say that she doesn't like him, but she doesn't love Drew, but she's willing to use him for the sake of her children. Um, and so I think this is sort of fascinating in the sense that I would say, at least as of the end of 2025, that Willow's an independent woman. Even though she's with Drew, but she's the one calling the shots, even if Drew doesn't realize it yet.
Yeah, I believe that too. And did you have any other character transformation, or is it just Willow for you?
Actually, I'm going to say another one would be Rocco.
Okay, yeah, Rocco has, yeah, he's gone towards the bad side slash good side. So he's just kind of in between.
Yeah, I mean, before he was just sort of Lulu's kid that Sam and Dante were raising, and just sort of one of the brothers, of and their sort of family living at the Quartermains to now having such a prominent role within the show, but then also having all of these major issues and storylines where he's sort of taken on a not say necessarily bad, but more rebellious nature, but also fiercely defending his family and sort of taking after like even like the Laura and the Sunny, and to the extent even the Dante and Lulu of things, in the sense of fiercely was a uh, was a defending them to a fault.
All right. And Brandon, I am going to, just for the records, because we talk about this all the time, I just want to add in two things. I know we're at 33 minutes now, so I'm just going to do these real quick, and I'll be real quick about it. So when we look back next year, we can see if we were correct on this or not. Who shot Drew? For me, I've got two names that I've said over and over again, and then subject to change tomorrow. Stella is for me, and then Portia, or my two. All right, Brandon, who shot Drew?
See, okay, I struggle with this because I mean I think Willow is the obvious one. All signs sort of point to her. Michael has said as much that it's not him, but I don't know if I believe him at this point. I know Danny was one we have said time and time again. I would love for there to be something of a twist to this. The question is, who could really twist it at this point? Um, I will say what I would like to see happen. I don't know about the logistics because the logistics would make no sense whatsoever. I would love to see like a surprise where like Sam did it from beyond the grave, but I kind of struggle with this. But I'm gonna say for now with Willow, but if so, I don't think she was working alone. The question is, who was she working with?
Okay. All right. And last thing, Sidwell. Who is Sidwell's boss? And I'll go ahead and tell you who I have thought about. And I am saying Kevin. All right. Brandon, what about you?
I am also saying the lovely Kevin Collins. I mean, he is at sea. I know all of the signs have been supposedly going towards Cesar Faison, but we've indicated as much that he's not around, but his influence is definitely there.
Yeah. All righty. And Brandon, those are all the categories that I have right now. Anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I would say this has been a pretty eventful year for General Hospital. Lots of things happening, lots of characters going from main to recurring, and vice versa. And I hope that when Maxie comes back in 2026 or this year, that she does have a pretty good return storyline.
Yep, the same here. I hope so too. All right. We thank everybody for watching and let us know what your thoughts are. Write in the comments if you agree or disagree with any of our categories or any of our suggestions. And we look forward to speaking to you next time. Have a great day, everybody.
And we'll see you then.
All right. Bye bye.